podcast night here at Baxter's 942 in the Highlands. It's Service Industry Tuesday here. They are my home away from home where I do my recordings. Next up, my man Bart Conley. Bart, what's up, man? Same time last year, about this time?
Yeah, this time last year. I'm going to start by saying thank you for having me because, this is our biggest event every year, and it's just such a... it's an emotional time, and this is Derby season. This is a perfect time for us to have one of our biggest fundraisers, with Jill's Wish, and any opportunity that I can get to share that story with others, I appreciate it, and I just want to start by thanking you for having me.
Always. We met, actually, it wasn't because of Jill's Wish. We met, there was some event that was going on here. That's how I recall.
For Noah.
Yeah, there you go. And which turned out to be a great night. We connected that way, and you were sharing your story. And so again, from me to you, my best wishes to you and your family. This is a story. Well, I want people, because maybe not everyone is familiar with this. Let's share. Jill's Wish is the namesake because of your wife.
Yeah. Well, I actually, about 12 years ago, went out to Las Vegas with Jill's brother, and it was the first time I ever met her, and she walked out, and I was like, wow, what a beautiful person.
From a guy to a guy, she's stunning. I mean, that's a beautiful woman. So.
Well, thank you. And not only was it, her looks, it was this attitude that attracted everybody to her. And, I came back to Louisville after that trip, and then a couple of months later, I was with her.
So you actually met her in Vegas?
Yes.
Did she live there?
She lived in Vegas.
Okay,
she was from Detroit.
Gotcha.
And, I met her out there, and a couple of months went by, and there was no, love connection while I was out there, but then I was hanging out with her brother one night.
You both didn't swipe right on those apps, right?
What's that? No. That was before the apps. But
get the timeline right. But go ahead.
But then I was with her brother, and somehow, and I forget the exact details of it, but she was on the phone with her brother, and she said, "Is that my future husband in the background?" And I overhear this, and I grabbed the phone and said, "Yes, it is." And from there.
Before she said that, did you have this feel that there was like a connection?
No, I would have never dreamed that she was interested.
Really? Okay.
It was one of those things.
So that caught you pleasantly off guard.
Very pleasantly, obviously, when I grabbed that phone
surprise,
so quick. And then, we began talking, long distance. And
this was what year, about when?
This was about 2007.
Okay.
And, we talked back and forth, and then it got to a point where she was going to sell her house out in Vegas and move here to Louisville. And that was when the market was very bad, especially in Las Vegas.
Right, yeah.
So I take my first trip back since I had met her, and by this point we'd been talking for a couple months. House wasn't selling. I get out there, and this is actually in the documentary they did of her called "The Light That Shines." It's kind of what I can get into that later, but she's dropped me off at the airport after staying there for 3 days, and I said, we talked. We were like, do we want to do this? I mean, because it was hard. when you don't see somebody for a couple weeks, long distance,
it would
Las
be a long
Vegas
distance
to Louisville.
right,
that's not, not shooting up to Cincinnati.
Pretty damn good reason to go out to Vegas too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I had never been until that first time, actually. And so she
taking Jill out of the equation. Was Vegas everything you thought it was when you went out there that first time?
But I'll tell you what, just flying into Las Vegas with the lights right there, it was just such a cool.
You came in at night.
Thing. I was a blackjack dealer here, over at the Horseshoe.
Okay, gotcha.
So, I was obviously familiar with the gaming world, but I went out there and just the whole experience. It was cool seeing all this stuff, and that's what Vegas brings is just the look of things, and it was just such a cool experience. Plus, we had just such a great time. My brothers were with me.
Are there pictures of you in front of that pirate ship or next to the pirate ship out there and all that good stuff?
No, I didn't get a whole lot of pictures.
All right, fair.
And I think that was kind of before Facebook and all that was a big deal. Maybe MySpace or something.
Because in 2007, MySpace. I'm dating myself too here, but I know this Facebook had arrived, but not. It was on the scene, but not really arrived.
Yeah, I was clueless.
Yeah,
about it,
and I was. Yeah,
I'm still kind of clueless.
At that point, we still want to physically interact with people. Not via.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So she's taking me to the airport to go back to Louisville. And I was still I was working at the casino, and they kind of knew something was eventually going to happen one way or another. Either she was going to move here or I was going to move there. And she goes, what do you want me to do? You want me to drop you off, or you want me to hit the gas? And I said, hit the gas. So drove back home and kind of made the calls that we needed to make, the appropriate calls.
So the plan was that you were going to go she was taking you to the airport
to come back to Louisville.
Yeah.
We still ultimately had the plan of her selling the house and moving to Louisville, and it just wasn't happening.
That moment, she decided you all skipped the airport and just headaches.
And then had to make some of the calls that were, called, my parents, called.
It sounds like a Hallmark story. It sounds like a Hallmark movie.
My work knew something was going to happen eventually, and that was what it was. So there wasn't anybody who was shocked by the thing, but that's how it all happened. And then stayed out there for a couple years, and then ultimately we got married back here in Louisville. Yeah. Typically you live here and you get married out in Vegas, but we did it the opposite way. And thanks to my mom, she helped us plan
everything. There's proof that people really do that. They come to Louisville, they leave Vegas and come.
It was such a great wedding and a great time. But
and that's when what year time frame is that?
That's 2009.
That's now.
And then she had stayed to finish up with her work, and then I came back early to start work, and then. Shortly after she moved back, it was the day before her 32nd birthday. She had gone to the doctor, and I didn't even go with her because the word cancer was not anywhere on my radar.
What was the doctor's visit for?
She had her nipple was inverted, and it was something that we were ignorant to.
Right.
And, looking back, it's just like you want to beat your head against the wall, but it's nothing. It's kind of what I want to help.
Never.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. It's like old. It's older people.
Yeah.
It was never, especially being a newlywed. It was not anywhere on the radar. So I didn't even go to her doctor's appointment with her.
Right.
But my mom's the one that actually said, you're going to my doctor's appointment, set it up, and then she comes home, and I knew something was wrong, and that's when we found out, and that's when we had to start, dealing with what so many families are dealing with now.
At that point, when you find out, and shortly after that, how serious did they diagnose this?
Well, I mean, we had waited so long because, like I said, we weren't thinking of it, and she was already in stage 3, and there was like such a fine margin between the wall of her muscle and everything. So they immediately went to work on it, got the double mastectomies, the chemos, the radiations, all that stuff that, so many, men and women are going through with breast cancer, and, just facing a whole new challenge that was just not anywhere on what our plans were for the future. And,
the big picture all of a sudden shrinks.
Yeah. You hear cancer, that's one of the scariest words you'll ever hear. But, obviously it was very, very hard in the beginning, and we had to figure out a game plan, and we had some great doctors that got things rolling, and, ultimately Jill's attitude and positive attitude about dealing with this was what was her driving force, and it's just so inspiring to see somebody. I wasn't the one that ever had to actually deal with the physical part of it.
No, but you were in 100% support mode.
Yeah, for sure.
For her.
I could, that's all I could think about.
Yeah.
It's hard to go to work. It's hard to do anything when that's the only thing you're thinking about. Her getting better, and she actually, she had gotten her treatments and was in remission for
I remember. Yes.
several months. And all of a sudden you get the news that it came back. One of our friends had actually given her a hug, and it felt like she had a very bad pain in her back, and it was actually because the cancer had spread to her sternum, and that was causing the pain. And it was just, that was a hard pill to swallow, because that's when it had metastasized, which means it's an incurable cancer. And it was just another hurdle and something else that she had to, get motivated and just keep her attitude. Like I said, it was hard for her. There were tears shed, and but her toughness about beating it and handling it was just. It's like words can't explain it, and so many of her family and friends can vouch for how her attitude helped them get through it. When it should be the opposite way, but ultimately it was her inspiring us to she can deal with this. We can still try to fight this cancer.
Right. So it is metastasized, and you have a general idea on where this is going.
Yeah.
Take me to the point where Jill's wish you started talking about this whole thing. Go ahead.
Well, her friend who was living in Seattle at the time, Jill went out to visit her, and Jill kind of wanted to share, she had already had her double mastectomies, and she had actually had the implants put in, and she got infected in the left breast, and they had to remove it. And she wanted to show people, maybe in like a Women's Health or a women's magazine, that you can be beautiful with your scars that come along with that. So many people define a woman by their breast, and the media and all this stuff you see in all the magazines. And Jill wanted to let other women going through what she was going through realize that you can be beautiful and confident while you're after you've had these surgeries. And so they did this very awesome photo shoot, and they sent it to this world famous photographer. Her name was Sue Bryce. She was like 2-time Australia Photographer of the Year.
Oh, Australia.
Yeah. And
so worldwide.
Yeah, she has this online show that she reached out to Jill, and on the show, we were super excited about everything.
Was that based on the pic?
This is based on the pictures that her friend had sent her.
Okay.
And her, so she's on the podcast, and we're all, we all gather together. We got groups, and we've spread over a couple different. We all lived in the apartment complex behind Oxmoor, so in several different people's apartments, we were watching it. And Sue Bryce asked her if she would want to go to Paris with her to do a photo shoot. And Sue Bryce is booked, all year long. And so from there, they film a documentary. It was called The Light That Shines. And it ends up going viral. Hundreds of thousands of people watch it. We're getting calls from Today's Show, Good Morning America. She was on Yahoo, People Magazine, every media outlet there was. And it was overwhelming. It was such a pleasant experience for her while she was while she was battling it. I mean, an unbelievable experience. And we were so excited about it. We didn't know what the heck to do with that. People are calling you every day about different things.
She's become a celebrity at this point.
Yeah.
She's fighting an illness that's a deadly illness, yet she's in demand.
Yes.
They want her to tell her story. And
the cool thing about it, she wasn't searching for that. She was searching, just some women's magazines just to show it, and it turns into this. And throughout the notoriety, we were, trying to think what the next step would be, because there seemed to be some options. And we met one of our friends up in Victoria's Secret. Actually invited us to Limited Brands in Columbus. And they kind of, talked about why they don't, because Jill has mentioned something about a breast cancer survivor wearing the $1 Million Bra and doing the walk kind of thing. And so, thousands of people reached out to Victoria's Secret at this time. And So they wanted to invite us to tell us more about what they do, and they do a lot of great things. And there are a lot of good reasons why they don't have, the breast cancer patients is something they target anything towards, just because it's more of a younger,
It's the reality, right?
yeah. So and it was a great experience. But while we were there, we met one of our initial, 4 board members who his name was Dan Dolan, who kind of discussed things, different options, and we thought about coming up with a foundation to help families going through what Jill and I went through financially, because there isn't just the physical finances, it's the financial, the financials, keeping the electric on, having any money to do anything, and that's where we geared it towards, and that's what we do, and we help families, pay their bills, their rent, their car payments, electric, and things like that, just so they can relax and focus a little bit.
Unfortunately, the reality is that cancer doesn't strike or hit people who, are with a lot of zeros in front of the decimal point. Yeah. I mean, it's there's no prejudice, and so a lot of people are, the reality is a lot of people, when it comes to insurance, and I don't know what your all situation is, but I've heard the stories. It's a very pricey process.
Yeah.
And, a lot of insurance companies, there's a max. And I don't know if that was a situation where you were in, but I've heard the stories.
It was definitely, at first we had just moved, and I was just starting a job, and I hadn't even got to the 90 days where my insurance kicked in. So, we were blessed that they,
work with you and
we're nice enough and great enough to see her and get things started, knowing what our situation is, because it's a dire situation, and it shouldn't come down to if you have insurance ready to go or not, and even then there's these expenses, and there's time off work that you're not working, and some of the money that you are getting isn't enough to do anything, and especially a lot of the single moms going through this. It's one thing having, your spouse with you, but a lot of our, actual recipients don't have that, and that's a whole other realm of financial, and it's very heartbreaking.
Even with insurance too, there's still a lot of out-of-pocket expense, just from from a medical perspective. And if you don't make, I'm not trying to throw numbers out, but if you don't make enough to where you have the luxury to comfortably pay those out-of-pocket medical expenses that don't impact your other daily life expenses, house payment, car, kid, or whatever. It's
there's co-pays, there's prescriptions, there's without insurance, I mean, some of the bills that you get that are just ridiculous, how anybody without insurance would ever pay these is, it's hard to grasp. But, it's definitely a huge hit. People that are well-to-do, maybe even that get hit with it, their life changes.
It's still,
their finances greatly change, and it's, especially when you're not expecting and you haven't prepared for that, because not that anybody does prepare for that. Some do, I guess, but it's like we weren't prepared, a lot, as are most people, especially at that age, that don't expect
and
to come.
And newlyweds.
Yeah, for sure.
Because again, remind me, you guys were still newlywed. You were a newlywed couple when
6 months. Yeah, so it was
Wow, it's a crazy story.
Yeah,
crazy, sad, but crazy good, because the person that I know who you are, and the people that I know you have shared, I've asked, give me what's Bart about? What's he like? I'm the proverbial things happen for a reason. She needed you there for her. It's just the way it is. I mean, you all crossed paths. Obviously, there was a connection, but for what she had to go through, she needed somebody like you right there with her.
I mean, I needed her too. It was like just like like it was the greatest part of my life, even with that.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And being, we like when I ultimately had to tell her. This is just a little sample of what she was like. I was the one that told her that it had metastasized to her liver. It had gone, it had gone from the sternum, the lining of her lung, and then to her liver. And when they told that doctors had gotten a hold of me and they called me, I was at work and I had to leave, and then I had to drive around a little bit because I wasn't ready or not sure what I was going to say. And then, I walked in and didn't get the words out. She knew, and ultimately, eventually I did. And I got in the funk. I was trying, to that point, I had tried to be the positive. We're going to get through this. We're going to do this, and the other. And then I got in this little funk for the rest of that day. And I was laying back in the bed, and Jill comes back and lays behind me and gives me a hug and says, she says, we've done more than couples who've been married for 50 years would ever dream of doing. We've had more experiences that people would never get to do. And it was just another sign of her toughness and her courage. And I got up and I said, you're right. Let's keep going. Let's keep, fighting like she always had. And, she took it on like she had always done it. And, she's still lived a couple of years even beyond that, always exceeding that.
Give me the timeline, because at that point, what year are we talking about right now? Which story?
It's probably around 2014. I'm kind of guesstimating on that.
Right.
And she ultimately passed away in 2016. Mm-hmm. And it was, it was just another sign of who she was. And people, being in the hospital so many times, her asking the nurses how they're doing, knowing their stories, remembering everything about it, it was just, and actually caring about other people's stories and wanting to know how they were doing. The ultimate testament of who she was. I mean, I joke with a lot of her friends because they say, we're coming over, we're only going to be here for an hour. And I'm like, right. Because I wanted to spend time with her too, and they always ended up staying for hours because they having fun, and they just, everybody wanted to be a part of Jill and experience and have fun with her. And she was just one of these once in a lifetime personalities that was just loved by so many people.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing a lot better. I just last year started nursing school, started working at over at Norton's in the oncology unit. It was the floor that Jill spent a lot of time, and there's still a lot of nurses there.
Was that by design?
And yes, it actually was. It was something, I was, guided not only by Jill, but it was the experiences we had with a lot of the nurses at while we were there. While she, are you working or interacting with the people that were there at that time? So the nurses are there. Yeah,
still?
Some of the nurses are still there. Yeah, and it was, it's nice when you're going to work and the person you love's sick and needs good care, and you want to be leaving. You don't want to be leaving her alone or scared. And it was nice to have those people there, and that's ultimately what drove me into wanting to become a nurse. And
that's cool.
And it took me a couple years. Like I always say this, it was a couple years getting up at 7 in the morning and being exhausted by 8 in the morning and having to go back to bed because I'm depression. And
I don't know how old you are. You're not in your 20s. We can roll that out
for sure.
so to pull this off at this time of your life, I mean, it says a lot about you.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure you were totally inspired too.
For sure, it's that drive and inspiration. It's very rewarding to be able to speak to some of these patients that I currently get to deal with, and help them in any way. Kind of like the way that some of the people helped us. But I can tell you that first day back in school after 20 plus years. It was intimidating. I was afraid. It was as simple as you had to stand up, say your name, and a little story.
I'm guessing most of the people in there were kids.
Yes, yeah. I mean, seriously, I was definitely and for the last. I think my last 3 classes, I've been the only male in the class, so that's another thing. So anytime they're talking about the teacher, I get along with the teachers there. Yeah. They'll make a comment, and I said, "I know who you're talking to. I'm the only man in the class." But we laugh about it. But it's been a cool experience. There's so many great people that I've got to meet through it. The faculty at school. My classmates have been great. At the hospital, and I say this, and I genuinely mean this. There's not a whole lot of nurses who are there that aren't there for the right reasons. People say that the money's different than it used to be for a nurse, but on the oncology floor, especially, I can tell you this: these people are there because they want to be there and have a compassion for, the patients there, and it's pretty cool.
Caring and helping, and yeah.
For sure.
Going to Jill's, I'm looking at the Facebook page, the mission statement, if you will. I'm gonna throw some of this, the verbiage at you, and I'm gonna let you jump in with your comments or add to it. Jill's wish mission is to help families minimize their financial struggle while they go through cancer, allowing more time to focus on recovery. Company overview. This is Jill. It's written kind of in third person. Jill's Wish was founded by Jill and her incredible husband, Bart.
I didn't add that.
I was going to say, I was third person. Yeah, well, did you?
No, I promise you I did not.
All right, we're on. I didn't think you did. But if you did, you did it right because you come in third person. Obviously, after Jill's cancer journey left him scrambling to make ends meet, the mission of Jill's Wish is to provide assistance to those with breast cancer so they don't have to worry like you and Jill did, and instead focus their time and energy on family, friends, treatment, and recovery. Has it been staying true?
That's it.
Staying the true.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And ultimately, we give grants of $1,500. It was kind of something that Jill and I thought of a number that would help us, whether it's get caught up or, where you're struggling. And, I always use this, correlation. If you have a chemo treatment and you're worried about that and the electric company could be shutting your electric off and you got to worry about that too. And which is not only, a mental stress, it's also physically not good for you to have to deal with that when you're dealing with cancer in general.
To throw a kind of digress a little bit, but staying kind of on topic here. The state recently passed a bill for medicinal use of marijuana. Is that something? What's your?
I'm 100% for that. 100% for that. It was something when. Your loved one is suffering, and a lot of it's pain, a lot of it's appetite, a lot of it's things that the medicinal is used for, and I'm 100% for that. I wish that was something that Jill could have done in her time. Yeah. And knowing
what it is,
even
you would have. You think it would have helped her?
That if we could, we would. It's just something that I know that it would help her. And I researched everything. It's one of these things, and I don't always recommend to go online to research things because you don't know. You get a lot of bad stories in certain cases, but in this case, I just wanted to know more about it. And there's healing factors, and there's a lot of other factors that come along with it, other than just the pain relief and the appetite. And it's something that I really think should be a nationwide get passed nationwide.
Yeah, now it's the oil. There's a lot of things now that I'm not sure that she had access to, legally access to or whatever. And we don't have to go there, but the fact that you're confident this would have definitely been a benefit for her.
Absolutely. You know, it's one of these things. Unless the people that make these decisions are directly hit with it, they don't understand it as well. But it's something I've had a goal, and I've talked to Mike Maroney. He's with Shirley's Way, and we just about things like that, and the some of maybe a couple months off of not paying your mortgage, something so you can focus on that, getting to the powers that be, because that don't understand it maybe firsthand. It's not just, you're not just dealing the physical disease. There's so many factors that are involved, and to me, I have a firm belief in all these things that need to be changed. That are changing, which is a good thing.
Are you in the process? Are you an advocate? Are you working with anybody from a political standpoint to help push?
Currently, I'm not.
Okay.
I just with school work and the foundation. It's my goal once I get through, and if I get the opportunity, absolutely, I would love to go and say my feelings and put in my 2 cents of what my thoughts are through a personal experience of what I wish would have seen, because there's nothing worse than seeing your loved one suffer. Right. And I think it would have just been, very beneficial if we had the access to that.
We come to the event. It's the Derby Cocktail Party. It is Saturday, April 27th at the Regency. What's the story with this party? What's the intent here?
Well, we had our first one. It was, this will be our fourth. So, but it was 3 years ago, because it was shortly after Jill had passed away. I thought, I wanted to not get in a funk, and I wanted to think of a way to carry on.
Absolutely.
Immediately get back into what her dream was, and that's helping others. And we had talked about a Derby event, especially being here in Louisville. So we just went ahead and did it. We were blessed to have, the Vintage Warbirds let us use their hangar over at Bowman Airfield, and it ended up being the best event we've had to date. And but this year's event's going to be at the Regency. We have a lot of, we have Soul Circus is going to be playing there. We're going to have some of the best food. Last year we had 32 food options, some of the best. We had tri-tip, salmon. It just an unbelievable spread.
Yummy.
I'm like, I never get to eat until after everybody's gone. When the food's cold, but it's still
you have to put it in the microwave.
Yes. But it's just a blessing. Stephen Bowles, he spearheads that usually every year, and just such a blessing to have that as part of the event. We include beer, wine, champagnes included that, and Ballatin, who sponsors us every year, they with the chocolate mint julep. We call that the mint julep. We've changed that name to
pretty tasty.
So there's a lot of cool.
Caroline,
Caroline, she's just such a blessing of doing volunteering for us and helping us out, and as every one of them are volunteers. It's amazing. I mean,
how many people do you have that's actually accounting, that's involved in making this happen?
Well, with this, I'd say, we're teaming up with Hats for Hope. They've had an event for the last 15 years. And we're teaming with them, and
for the Derby party.
For the Derby party, and they're bringing over 55 hats that are. These are high quality hats as part of their thing. It was they were going to the airports, and a lot of the people leaving from out of town. There's some celebrities that had left their hats. Just people donating their hats to this, and they've been generous enough to team with us, and. It's amazing. I don't know the exact number, but there's a lot of people. Now,
is one of those hats? Is there a tag on there that says something like Beyonce wore this hat?
No, I mean I don't know who. I don't know the ins and outs of anybody.
I mean that kind of ups the ante.
We can put it on.
Yeah, I was gonna say
the honesty factor there, but
in case someone's looking.
Yeah, like I said, it's having that as a true blessing to us, and we're grateful to them. and excited about that. And I, you know, one of the things I want to say
is it like auctioned off?
It'll be auction hats, and you get these hats for a great price. And I mean, just think about it. I mean, people stressing and struggling about their derby hats.
I mean, you got them covered.
This is the week before.
A week before,
you know,
right?
So it's a perfect time. You know, our sponsors have been great. You know, Anthem has done it every year. R.J. Corman Railroad Group is a new sponsor this year that we're truly blessed to have. You know, many others that are, you know, have helped us out. You know, Oxmoor Auto Group is a new sponsor again this year, and without them, we can't do it. I mean, we really can't do it. And sorry if I'm forgetting other names, but you know, that'll all be there at the party to see firsthand. But you know, for us to have this event and give us the opportunity to help that many people does need the power of many. And you know, I've been blessed to have that. You know, our board members, you know, and you know, other volunteers. I'm just truly blessed and thankful to all of them for helping out.
I'm at the jillswish.org. Beautiful woman.
Thank
Me to you.
Thank you.
Let me just go on and say, you got that kind of, if there was a James Bond in town, you might have that, you got that whole debonair look. Just saying, you know, and I say that with all due respect. Look at this. Picture is Muhammad Ali, Stuart Scott. Oh, well.
Yeah, they talk about some cool people that we've got to meet over the years. You know, Lonnie Ali reached out to us a few years back, and for us to come down and get a private meeting with him, and we were ultimately invited. He got the 50-year Icon Award for Sports Illustrated, and we got invited to the event, which we were already blown away by that. And there was like about 150 people there, and we're looking for our table, you know, thinking it's in the back. Sure enough, we're front and center with the Ali family, and then all of a sudden, Shaq sits next to Jill. I mean, talk about, you know, you try to be not starstruck. You know? Yeah, then he's obviously hitting on Jill, just joking, being funny. But it was such an unbelievable experience. You know, George Foreman right in front of us, sitting across from Muhammad Ali, and being at the table with this whole family at this, you know, 50-year Icon Award was just mind-blowing to us. You know, and then she got the opportunity to meet Stuart Scott, and they hung out the whole night and kind of shared their stories together.
Arguably, was definitely one of my favorite ESPN personalities ever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm on the website jillswish.org. With your permission, and I saw this earlier, and I wanted to save this towards the end of the podcast. There is some text verbiage here that's written from Jill.
Yeah.
Can I read this?
Yeah, for sure.
This is love from Jill. People always ask me if I'm angry at God for giving me cancer. At first, I always answered honestly. I said yes. Then I realized that God didn't give me cancer. Instead, He has given me the strength to get through this horrible disease. I truly believe I'm supposed to be a voice to help others out there going through cancer or any kind of body issues that make us feel so insecure. I just want to be able to help as many families out there who are going through cancer so they can focus on their recovery. The financial burden cancer brings is unbelievable, which is why I'm so proud of Jill's Wish Foundation. I am so blessed to have such amazing board members and team for Jill's Wish. We all have become a family with the same purpose. We all have the same thing that drives us: compassion. This got me earlier. I know I will eventually die of cancer, but knowing I did everything in my heart, everything in my power to help change lives definitely leaves me with such a fulfilled heart. Thank you to everyone for all of your love and support. It means the world to me. Does it still resonate? I mean, that's heavy, man. That is so heavy.
I mean, like I said, I like the goosebumps, and I've watched, you know, since she's passed. I've been blessed that she has had so many videos and different speaking events that I've watch and just see like what she, and really knowing that that's her and that's how she wanted, and that exactly right there says what she was all about, you know. And that's
when you watch now, are you less sad? Or how's those feelings?
I think it comes and goes,
Okay.
like how I feel each time I watch them, you know, certain times depending on the mood or my current situation, whatever it would be that day.
I know you
It's
miss
kind
her.
of a random thing.
I can tell it. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, like it's something, you know, somebody that, you know, is an unforgettable person who did, you know, like I said, she always made me feel like, you know.
In some weird / crazy / good way, she's still here with you.
Yeah,
And
for
she's-
sure. I mean,
yeah.
it's everything I'm
Yeah,
doing right now
exactly.
is because of her.
I mean, there's times you just like feel that presence, or you know the.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's my driving force to what I'm doing, and like we always say this, and like the pennies and dimes and pennies that we leave. Her brother did a cool speech at her funeral, and you know talked about dimes that you know that she leaves for him, and you know we found them in the craziest places, and there's a song.
Wait, go back. She would leave dimes
in the craziest places. Or
for her
having
her brother.
Well, and now it's all of us. All of us see it, but he talked about it
I got
at her
you.
funeral.
Yeah, got you. Yeah.
And then there was a song called "All the Pennies" that Mindy Gledhill, who flew in from Utah like a couple weeks before Jill passed, and one of her songs is "All the Pennies," and like all the pennies in the world doesn't matter as long as, you know, it's kind of one of the, she's with, and finding pennies when I'm having a crappy day, finding the penny somewhere, or stuff like that. You know, it's like, you know, that these signs, and just I don't know, being a part of everything every day in a good way. You know, I feel that her presence.
Absolutely. No kids, right?
No, like I said, we found out 6 months in, and
so.
it was one of those. If she got pregnant, it would have been catastrophic.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Just make what's left to do? I mean, because today's what, the 16th. So as we're recording, you're 11 days out from doing this. Are you able to sleep at night knowing that this is 11 days away?
I don't have time to sleep currently between schoolwork and this, but it's people at school joke, but I pace a lot, and I'm always pacing's when I'm doing my thinking, and my stress relief. That's my way of doing that, and I just want people to understand this would be not only a great time, but for a great cause. There are so many people that need this that people don't quite understand. Thousands of applicants, and we can only help what we can help through these events, and so any support. I said it's not only a fun event, but it's for a great cause, and I want people to realize that for a derby event, you get the food involved, the band, drinks, and all kind of great auction items. We got a meet and greet with Hoda. That's pretty cool. That somebody won last year, and they really loved it. Hoda from the Today Show in New York.
NBC, right,
So a lot of trips and all kind of things. And obviously, if you need a derby hat, we got plenty of those there too. So
maybe worn by Beyonce. Real quick on the website, there's a tab where people can go in and donate. But there's also, tell me, there's the Get a Wish tab.
That's just for our applicants. If they, if you know somebody who needs the help, that's somewhere you go in and apply. And
I noticed that's the other thing I noticed. There are some qualifications, and one of them is residency. Louisville, Southern Indiana, Central Kentucky, Cincinnati, and Michigan. Obviously, Louisville, Southern Indiana, and Central Kentucky. I get what's with Cincinnati and Michigan.
Well, I'm from Cincinnati, and we have our Christmas event there every year. and Jill's from Michigan.
Okay.
So, and we have our golf outing up there, and we're doing this because, like I said, we have thousands of applicants, and the means to help them all, and saying no to when we first started things, I wanted all the calls to go to me because I wanted to be the one to say the right things, and just instead of having whether hiring somebody to do it or however that would work, to these people are having the hardest time of their life, and making sure that the right things were said, and trying to just show compassion. But then it became overwhelming, to be honest, and it still is. The phone still rings all the time. But that's kind of why we narrowed it to those are our main event, where we get most of our donations through with our events. So that's what we kind of geared down to those locations.
Real quick. Okay, yeah, you touched on, that's one of the other thing I wanted to touch. The 27th, tickets are available through the website.
Yeah,
only?
go to the website.
Only?
Yeah, only on the website.
Okay, it's $75 per person. And then after this, the next one, you do this Derby event, but you do the is that the only other event too?
Well, we've had a golf outing here. We have a golf outing in Michigan. Those are kind of later. We, a lot of October driven, being Breast Cancer Month.
So you do an event in Michigan and Cincinnati as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very cool. But this is the only one.
Our initial big event was the Christmas party in Cincinnati, and then, that was before we started the Derby party. But that's kind of why we geared down to those particular states, as far as, until we, the ultimate goal is to help as many people as we can from anywhere. We've got, her story was it was a global story. Somebody sent us this link from a TV station in China that was telling the light that shines when it came out in Chinese. It was like it was such a surreal thing that you're seeing this
in Chinese. I laugh not because of just because it's in Chinese.
Well, I mean, think about that. We had no dreams.
Exactly.
Going anywhere, going that far at all. And like I said, Sue Bryce and Haley Bartholomew, who put the documentary together, blew us away. And obviously made a mark on a lot of other people as well. And some of the emails we've gotten, we used to, be crying hearing these ladies. This one, I like to tell this story. This girl was picked on in high school for being overweight, and she saw the documentary and took her clothes off in the mirror and said, "You're beautiful," and sent that email to Jill. And that's beyond what we do on the financial side. What Jill did was give confidence to a lot of people, and
that's cool.
On many levels, she's changed the world.
Clearly, in China.
Yeah,
that's how you roll. I'm curious, real quick. Is there a number to this date on either how many people you've helped and or dollars?
Dollars are right around 300,000.
Wow.
Like I said, and that's all event driven by these events. So
that's what these.
Pretty
events
proud
are for.
of this,
Yeah,
and when we first started it, Jill had that, 2 years where we couldn't do much with things, and we've done a lot of it here in the last couple of years, and we wanted to keep growing. The mission and carrying on her legacy are two important things for me to make sure that we make every event we do special. And I always say that the events are Jill worthy. So we don't
Jill worthy.
We put on a nice event, and, and we have a lot, like I said, with a lot of help from many people. So
they're not half-assed, I can tell you. I've heard the stories. I am going to do my best to attend the one on the 27th. I feel like I need to be a part of it.
That'd be great.
Again, Jill's Wish Derby Cocktail Party, the April 27th. It's at 6 p.m. It's at the Regency. Tickets available on the website jillswish.org.
I do want to thank John Ramsey's been our MC every year, volunteer, and then he's just is such a huge supporter of the cause, and I'm truly blessed for him to be a part of it every year. and yeah, there's many others, but I just wanted to make sure I let him know that, because that is
Absolutely,
it's an honor for us to have him every year.
Yeah, I know it's probably the same in most cities, but I mean, this is our city, Louisville, and with every event, benefit, whatever, a lot of the right people come and support, step up, and do their part to make it to make it over the top. And this is one of those events that I've heard it's over the top, but it's for such a great cause and great memory as well.
Like I said, I'm blessed. I'm blessed by the people's goodness in Louisville, and I always say that neither Jill or I are from here, but we've been embraced.
You're like one of our own now.
Yeah, so we're truly grateful of that.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with me, man.
All right, brother. I appreciate
Good luck
it.
with this, and anything I can do for you, let me know, bro.
All right, thanks, man.
All right.